Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to 5 Minutes of Torah with a Beth Israel Rabbi. This coming Shabbat, we read one of the most fascinating and complicated Torah portions in the entire Torah. Parashat Vayera is rich with narrative. Narrative about Abraham, about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, about the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. Some of the greatest stories in the entire Torah are found in this week's Parsha. Abraham is called on again and again as one of the greatest leaders of the Jewish people ever, and certainly the founder of the Jewish people, to make complicated and important decisions, to know when to go to battle, to know when to seek peace, to know when to heed the call of God, and when to challenge God. Abraham challenges God when God says that he's going to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And yet Abraham shows his faith when he is willing to sacrifice his son Isaac when God asks him to do so. God, of course, sends an angel to ultimately prevent that from happening. Abraham is willing to take a step back and to allow Lot and his herdsmen to have better land for the sake of Shalom Bayit in this week's Parsha. But Abraham goes to battle and indeed beats many people for the sake of bringing Lot back when he is taken captive. Abraham demonstrates that he can make complicated decisions in complicated times. Unfortunately, I believe that this past week just became even more complicated for the Jewish people. For me, the election of Mamdani as mayor of New York is potentially one of the most complicated and maybe even worst events that we have seen as a Jewish people in decades. And I say that because, unfortunately, Mamdani, who is bright, articulate, and young, expresses the opinion that he does not believe that Israel should exist, and proudly built his entire political career on the idea of being an anti-Zionist. I can assure you that had Israel existed between the years of 1939 and 1945 with the Israeli army in existence, that we as a Jewish people would not have suffered from the Shoah. A person who calls for the end of Israel, a person who openly says, I am not a Zionist, I openly want to see the end of Israel, is a person who is clearly an anti-Semite and a danger to the Jewish people. And unfortunately, Mamdani may have many, many more years in not only New York politics, but potentially even higher positions of government. This is the normalization of a fringe person who has now brought into the sphere of mainstream politics anti-Semitic anti-Semitism. And by the way, it is no surprise that a yeshiva was attacked in New York City with swastikas the day that Mamdani was elected. And unfortunately, I have to say, it is no surprise again that we saw the type of anti-Semitic attack that happened in Toronto this past week at TMU. We need to make good decisions like Abraham in this complicated time. We need to be strong, and just as the beginning of the Abraham narrative says, that Abraham and his descendants will be blessed, and he will bless others who bless him, we must make sure to bring that vision of blessing for ourselves and others to fruition. Shabbat Shalom.